Eoghan Patterson, ECA coach. What's happening? How are we?
What is happening, mate? I'm good on this
Good.
fine Monday. What about yourself?
Is it a Monday? Fuck, every day feels like a Monday. No, it's all good. It's all good. Owen, what I wanted to talk to you about today was like a whole host of things. Owen's one of our senior coaches in the gym. He coaches our small groups, he coaches our semi-private and obviously one-to-ones alongside Michelle. And so even in his young age, he has lots of experience of sort of working with people, men, women, big, small, skinny, slightly overweight, in terms of either building muscle, helping people lose fat. So I thought this would be a great opportunity to sort of pick his brains, and sort of hopefully get some insights into what it takes to get into the shape that you want. So, what I want to start off with is what are the common things or common mistakes that you see people make whenever they are trying to get into shape, whether that's losing weight or building muscle or even just segment both of them?
That's a great question because it's probably something to go on right when people join the gym. The first thing they probably think of is, I need to get these results in 6 weeks. I need to get these results in 12 weeks. So they're usually going in on a challenge. And I think the first mistake people make is they think when that challenge ends, that is it done. So they've made the results and then they go back to their old ways. And that is absolutely not the case. The challenge is good for you because it'll kickstart you. It'll start implementing those habits in terms of nutrition, outside life. It'll get you into the swing of training. But after that, that's when the real work begins. That's when you start implementing it into your lifestyle. So I think the first thing is, I think when the challenge ends or whatever it is they join in on, that's the work over. The second thing is probably they expect results, which sort of falls into it. Expect results too quick. You need to have a time frame. You need to realize that you're changing your lifestyle. So what you've done over the past, say, 2, 3 years to get in the situation you became in, it's not going to be undone again in that 6 week challenge. So they would be the two main things that I would be wary of for people and try to educate them on.
Okay.
What's your thoughts on that?
The first thing you touched on is interesting because obviously this is something that we see at ECA and have done over the last couple of years where yes, we're known for, some 6 week challenges and transformations and getting people amazing results. But throughout that time, we're always talking about, that's not the end of the game. Simon Sinek has a great book called The Infinite Game, and it just continues to progress on. There is no winners and there are no losers. And that's where the concept for our pathway came, which is, you know, pathways are really nice for anything that you go into a new job or, something that gives you a clear direction and vision that you can go towards. And for us at ECA, our three-stage pathway involves a body composition phase, or weight loss phase, depending on where the person's at, a strength phase, and a body for life lifestyle phase. And basically what we're trying to implement there is say to people, listen, this is just one piece of the puzzle. When you come here, yes, we want to get you amazing results, and that's our job. But I'm also going to make you aware of the challenges, the pitfalls, things that you have ahead, and also how we can get you to even better results. And more importantly, again, what we probably talk about a lot with clients is how do we keep those results. So yeah, I think it's extremely important to not just say, hey, this is what we do, and then just sort of pigeonhole ourselves. It's thinking what is the best approach for the sort of client. But yeah, I agree with that. Even though we are known for sort of 6 week type challenges, we do that for a specific reason in terms of it's enough time to get people an adequate, decent result so they can see the progress that they make. And another reason for that is because motivation, in terms of application of people, the longer they are trying to do something, the longer that will diminish. And the research says that. So at times, if they feel like they're getting something new or fresh, it almost excites them again. So yeah, I would say that pathway is something that's become clear because we've dealt with people like that. Um,
Mm-hmm.
do you see differences between males and females?
In terms of when they come into the gym,
Yeah, in terms of wanting to get into shape, in terms of, things that they do or what they want.
for me personally, I actually find that females probably start off on a better foot. Like they come in a wee bit more motivated and they're a wee bit more disciplined on the outside. Where males sometimes can fall wayward, sometimes make excuses for themselves and maybe need to kick up the ass. But then what I also find is whenever females sometimes don't see results as quick as they would like, they can get quite frustrated and they sort of need a wee chat just to explain through how things are going and maybe having a deeper look into what they're doing on the outside. But initially, I would actually find females tend to be easier to work with than males, in my opinion.
Okay. What do you think the biggest issues are for females, and then also what the biggest issues are for males when they're obviously trying to get in shape?
I would say, but like biggest issue for females for me probably would be their body image, like their self image of themselves. So like not hating on themselves. Like when they come into the gym, they can be very like negative about themselves and I can't do this or I can't do that. And for me, I want to flip that. I want to show them that they can do it, that they're in the gym to get strong. They're not in the gym just to lose weight. We want to get you strong, feeling good. And the weight loss most of the time will come with that because that's going to come from the things you're doing outside the gym. In the gym, yes, we will get some sweat on, but it's more about building a body that you're proud of, being mobile, being strong. So that would be for females. For males, it would probably be just getting them to be consistent with the gym. So as I was saying, they can sometimes make excuses of themselves, go, oh, I can't do, well, maybe not, I can't do this, but their consistency for me doesn't be as good as females. And for me, it's getting them to enjoy the gym and getting them to show up.
Do you know what? Do you ever hear the quote, "If you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life"?
Yep,
That sort of popped up on a post or an ad. Maybe I just flashed across me, and I was like, "That's what we're trying to do with the gym. It's trying to get people to love it so that they'll never feel like
100%.
working out is
Like a
bad."
punishment. Yeah, like I think
Yeah.
that's a big thing for people to go into the gym. I need to punish myself for all the food I've had. I need to burn all these calories. Like I don't want people, I don't want the clients in the gym that I coach to think like that. I don't want them to think that they're coming in just to burn a certain amount of calories. I want them to come in to showcase what their body can do, that they're getting stronger, that they're feeling better in themselves. That's the reason why they come to the gym, not just to burn calories.
Okay, so say you have a female client that comes to you who wants to lose weight, who has failed in the past in terms of maybe tried different diets or maybe even tried different gyms, and they just haven't seen the results that they want. What would be the things that you would do with them, start, middle, end, to ensure that they get results?
Well, the first thing would be, okay, can we get you going, showing up to the gym 2 or 3 times per week? Like that's going to be your hub. That's where we're going to see each other weekly. We'll obviously be touching base over WhatsApp, but can we get you into the gym 2 to 3 times per week? Yes. Cool. Okay. What can we do in terms of nutrition? Sometimes people don't like tracking. So I'm going to be like, okay, what simple things can I get you to think of on the daily that's going to generally improve your nutritional habits? So, okay, tell me your eating schedule. So let's say they're skipping breakfast, they're maybe having a lunch on the go, and then they're snacking throughout the day and they're having a dinner at night. Okay, first thing I would look at is, okay, can we get you into eating 3 meals a day? A rough breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And within that, can we get you to have a protein source with each meal? Yeah, we can do that. Cool. Okay, what's the next thing we can do? Can we add in 3 to 5 portions of fruit and veg a day? Yeah, great. Can we drink 2 liters of water? And a simple way to think of that, can we add in 500 mils with each meal? Yeah. Okay. That's all I want you to think of at the minute. 3 meals a day, protein source with each meal, 500 mil of water with that. That's the first thing I'll get them as a really basic thing.
Yeah.
After that, if they start getting better, we can start manipulating calories and going, okay, I want you to actually track what you're eating. I want you to find out the calories that you're consuming per day. And then, okay, I want you to, let's adjust them. Okay, we need to bring your calories up or we need to bring your calories down. We can start manipulating that whenever they get a bit more into the swing of it. But instead of overwhelming a person going, right, I need you on MyFitnessPal doing all this, first thing I scale it back is can we do really simple things first? And I think that's the big difference in the way I approach things from when I started. I would have been like, right, we need to get to doing this, 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 and this. And it just never works because it just overwhelms them.
Oh,
Can I get
yes.
them doing simple things first? So they're training, they're being a bit more aware of their food, and can they get out on it? Not even 10K steps, like that golden number. Can we get out on a 20-minute walk? Yeah, great. Those 3 things. That's just tick them off. If you tick them off in your first month, I guarantee you will see improvements.
I,
From
I
there, you
love
can adjust and you can feel.
I love what you said there because obviously you've come through our academy as well, and you know how much I talk about this in terms of, what's the first thing I say to any new coach that you would ask a client to do with their nutrition? It's always track their food, do this. And I'm like, whoa. And
Too
again,
much.
yeah, what we talk about, and what I really loved about that was when people are coming to you, they're coming to you for a reason. They're coming because they need direction, they need motivation, they need focus. And it's our job as coaches to distill the complex information that is out there on how to lose weight in multiple different ways and try and do it in the safest, quickest, most effective way. Like, we're not there to keep people beyond their needs and means, okay? But a big thing was when you give that clear, concise direction, and you put it in a simplified form to say, listen, this is what we're going to do. Can you do that? Yep, 100% awesome. Let's do that. Like, it's really simple, doesn't have to be complicated. And then, it's like, as Donkey would say to Shrek, there's many layers to this. And so the next thing is, okay, we've got that down. Then what is the next step, the next level that we need to go to that's going to make sure that we can make sure that you get the progress that you want. So yeah, I think that's super important. And we say it all the time at ECA, our job is not to make your life harder, but also to give you the tools that you can deal with the stresses, the things that you've got going on, and still make your health and fitness a priority, because a lot of the times people leave that by the wayside. And then they'll only pick it up whenever they have an issue. Oh, I need to join a gym. Why? I just recently became type 2 diabetic. Okay, well, why are you only doing this now? Why didn't you think about this 6 months ago? Or, did you have, bloods done up in the run up this surely isn't a surprise. This has just happened. So I always talk about
Hmm.
people being reactive and not proactive. People react to scenarios and situations as opposed to thinking what is the best case scenario sort of for that. Um, Continuing on for that, what are the main obstacles, the issues, the things that crop up with clients that sort of hinder their progress in the gym, that stop them from getting results or going or whatever it may be?
I know everybody probably says this, but for me it is consistency, right? And that consistency isn't tick it Monday, tick it Tuesday, tick it Wednesday, Thursday. Like, it doesn't mean ticks every day. It might be tick 6 or 5 of the days. Okay. So you're doing the things you know you need to do to get those results. People say the 80-20 rule. I say if it's 70-30, you're on to a winner. We can get it the 80-20, but if you're doing it majority of the time, yes, you will always have those nights out, the social events, birthdays, whatever it is, but it's doing the things that you know you need to do in the lead up to that and after that. So let's say you're going out for food on the Saturday night. Don't let that define your week. Yes, you may be over calories or whatever it is on that day, but what you do Monday to Friday and what you do on the Sunday will overwork that. So not letting that night out turn into 2 nights or a week or whatever it is. Get back onto the bandwagon, get back doing the daily habits and the things you need to do consistently to get those results. So for me, it's whenever they have those social events or have whatever it is, they plan around it and then they get back on the bandwagon the next day. Like, even if it's just getting up out of bed, going for a walk, and just being up, like, your next meal after your night out, your meal in the morning for your breakfast, if you're having one, is some fruit, maybe a bit of protein, something like, instead of going, right now, I'm going to order a KFC or I'm going to order a Chinese. Although how hard it may be to resist that, it's going to make all the difference in terms of your progress.
So let me throw something at you here, right? So you have a first in your degree, right? So obviously you dedicated a huge amount of time to getting that result, yeah?
Mhm.
So would you say you were completely dedicated all in on it?
I would say I wasn't all in. I was about 80%. Like, I did the work I knew I needed to do. I could have spent a bit more time, but I chose not to so that I could say, for example, coach, train, but I still put a good quality and standard into the work I did. But I know there was people in my class that also got first as well that were doing a wee bit more than me.
Okay. So the reason why I'm bringing that up is because what I have in my head is, if a task is worth doing, it's worth doing well, right?
Hmm.
So a lot of people are coming and they're like, I'm going to do this thing. I'm investing my money. I want to get the best results possible. I'm going to put the time and effort in. When in essence, their effort is maybe misguided in terms of too much too soon. Or what's happened is, and we see this a lot, is the all or nothing scenario. You know,
Hmm.
I invest my money, I put this thing into here, so now I'm completely dedicated to this with no ability to integrate anything else in or an ability to go, this is what you need to do. This would be a little bit better. This would be perfect. And people will always try and aim for perfection instead of, as
100%.
you said, 70-30 approach is more than enough. And to give you an example of what that could be, you know, if you eat 5 meals a day, so you're talking breakfast, lunch, dinner, and two snacks, right? It's usually 4 to 5 sort of feedings per day for most people, right? That's 5 meals in a day, right? Over the course of 2 days, do you think out of those 10 meals, seven of them could be on point and on plan? So you're having three potentially feedings that you could have something that you enjoy. Now, if you think I could do that, that's what we want you to think. I don't want you to think that you have to be perfect Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, because as most people will already attest to, the weekend is the hardest part. Being around social events, being around certain environments, certain people is what really tests our willpower. And then that causes us to want to feel part of a social group, a tribe. Um, and then that's when we tend to give in. As you say, it's you want to be a part of something, but you also want results. And you feel isolated when there's people who are in your social circle who are not as interested in the same thing as you are. So yeah, I just wanted to ask you with that because I had assumed that obviously your dedication and focus would go to that. But you surprised me there by saying 80-20.
Yeah,
So
well, I think it sort of comes in.
multitask.
You only have so much energy to give. And if you're in, yes, things are going to take priority 100%. But if you're looking to dedicate time to training, if you're looking to dedicate time, for me, it was coaching. If you're looking to dedicate time to uni, if you're looking to maintain a social life, there's only so much you can give. You have to prioritize, okay, I'm going to spend this amount of time on that. I'm going to spend this amount of time on that. The rest of the time will go to this. So I was still trying to do everything. So I had to dedicate certain time slots to certain activities, albeit obviously in proportion.
Yeah. Um, do you really think that's true in terms of prioritization? Do you
In
think that
terms of,
in terms of getting results, do you think that people need to prioritize it to the fullest?
not really, because yes and no. It's a tough question because yes, it does need to take priority and it does need to be something that you want to do. Like sometimes people can say that they want these results, but sometimes you see their actions don't align with it. So it does need to be a priority, but there is always going to be things, for example, work and family, that if things are going on, they're always going to be your number one focus. Getting to the gym might not be as high as a family emergency or a work meeting, and that's completely normal. But at some point, it does need to have time allocated in the week for you to go to the gym, for you to get your steps in. There does need to be some form of time allocation for that.
Because the reason why I'm asking that, it just popped into my head. You know, you always see um, people saying that, you know, and we do this a lot, the sort of bare minimum we ask people to do at ECS 3 sessions per week, right? When you have those people who are time deconstructors, let's just say, oh, that's only 3 hours out of your week. A week is 168 hours, you know, and the reason why I asked that is because prioritization, there's always things that are prioritized above other things, right? And for the most part, and I think this is a cultural thing, um, depending on where you're from and what your sort of beliefs are. I would say our cultural beliefs in Ireland are we tend to put people before ourselves.
I would
Um,
agree.
and we see that more on the female side, and you could call it maternal, you could call it whatever you want. I think it's an upbringing that we sort of have. We don't bum and blow about ourselves. We don't talk in a positive light about ourselves because it's seen to be cocky and arrogant and
I think
OTT.
that's a great point there actually, because I seen a quote and it was literally just today. And it was, if you talked to yourself, or sorry, if a friend talked to you like you talk to yourself sometimes, would you like that person? So the way you talk to yourself in a negative light, if someone else was talking to you like that, would you like that person? No, most likely not.
No.
So it's flipping that and being more positive with yourself and having that positive self-talk rather than putting yourself down and that negativity. I thought that was a great point because people in Ireland generally would be like that, I find.
Yeah. And listen, I'm seeing some things change, like people supporting other people, but in essence, we have this inherent cultural identity of that we don't do those things, that we look after everybody else, we put things before ourselves, and ultimately we're the ones that end up suffering and sacrificing. And so when we get a different culture, a different identity, maybe a different nationality. I'll use American for an example, that are quite brash and upfront. We sort of don't know how to handle it,
Yeah.
because we're not used to that. And then we'll tend to, pick it apart and find flaws or whatever it is to try and make ourselves feel better. So, um, if I get back to this in terms of fitness, it's understanding that you can prioritize some time for yourself, and it doesn't have to be, obscene amount of time throughout the week. You don't have to sit there and go, okay, I am blocking out 6 hours a day every day for me. It
Yeah.
could be an hour, it could be 2 hours. Like we said, 3 workouts a week is not a huge amount in the grand scheme of things. Maybe an hour, and maybe another 2 hours throughout that week for walking, maybe, meeting up with friends, social events. All that feeds into the bank if you want to do it, and Daniel, who we had on before, was mentioning withdrawals and deposits. What are
Hmm.
the things that are giving you energy and what are the things that are taking away your energy? And it's looking at it like that. And you remember our retreat, Phil Brady said something, the issue we have is we take a lot on our plate, and then when things get too much, we become overwhelmed and we want to give things up. Um, and a lot of times they'll people look at the gym or social things or whatever it may be. And Phil Brady, the guy who coaches on our mastermind, works with a lot of uh, extremely important professionals in terms of their mindset and their beliefs, was like, ultimately you can give up things, but it's okay to give up people as well. Give up the
100%.
negative people who are pulling you down, who are not giving you, the air or the wind to let you go and soar or to support you. So I just thought that sort of was interesting, and prioritizing is a part of the process, but it doesn't have to be the be all and end all, essentially.
No. And I think that comes into the retreat when we're sort of chatting as well. And we were talking about there's times when you'll turn the dial up and there's times where you'll turn it down. So there's times where it may be higher up in your prioritization. You're training for a holiday, a wedding coming up, photo shoot. Of course, to get fast track results and to get better results, you're going to need it to be higher in your priority. But there's no reason why you can't maintain a baseline standard of, as you say, your 2 hours a week, 15 minutes walking a day, and you will see results.
Yeah. And I think that's super important, a baseline. And that's what when we talked about our three-phase system, our body for life phase is what are the maintenance habits that don't take a lot of time and effort, that have been born from the first two phases, that are literally non-negotiables now. And non-negotiables as in you enjoy them. Going for a
Mhm.
walk is good, getting out and climbing a mountain or meeting friends or going to the park, taking your dog out. Like you just go, no, that's me. That's part of my life now, and not, oh, I have to do this. No, you get to do this. And just sort of reframing that. Okay, so I want to change this over to sort of exercise and movement. What do
Mhm.
you see in terms of the biggest style of training, or even the certain training principles that people need to be doing if they're trying to get into shape? Say, for example, we have someone who wants to lose weight or lose body fat. Like, what are the things that they should be focusing on with their training?
So in the gym, you're going to want to maximize the time that you have in the gym, in my opinion. So you need to get in, you'll do your warm up, and you want to get into strength work. You don't want to spend all your time, as I was talking before, about just burning calories, going on the assault bike. Yes, there will be conditioning elements to your training, but when you're in the gym, you want to maximize your time. You want to get strong. You want to put on lean muscle mass. And there's two reasons why you want to put on lean muscle mass. The first reason is because as you get older, the lean body mass in your body actually reduced by 1% a year. And I think it's after 30, if I'm correct in saying that, it reduces by 1% a year. So that's the muscle mass that your body has.
Why'd you look at me when you said that?
No reason. And the second reason, the
I'm six
second
percent
reason
up. I don't care what you say.
would be because if you have a higher muscle mass content, it means your maintenance calories is going to be higher. And if your maintenance calories is going to be higher, then it means you get to eat more food and still, if your goal is to lose weight, drop body fat. So, for example, if your maintenance calories is 2000 and you need to be in a deficit, let's say you're only 1800, right? But if we could get your maintenance calories up to 2100, 2200, to still be in a 200 calorie deficit, you could be eating 2000 calories instead of 1800. And over the week, in terms of improving people's lifestyle, that's going to be a big thing. The more food we can get you to eat while still maintaining your body weight is a good thing. And to do that, you need to be getting strong in the gym. So the first thing I'd be focusing on with everybody, whether it's muscle gain, well, especially for muscle gain, but also for body fat loss, is can we get you strong in the gym? Can we start putting on lean muscle mass?
Okay. You mentioned, you know, strength training and some form of conditioning. Like, again, not to blow our own trumpet, that's the state of training we have for our small groups, our hybrid sessions, as we call them, because as you get older, as Owen rightly said, I think the focus tends to change. And what I mean by that is, you want to be strong, but you also want to be fit. And your priorities change. So you might have kids, you might want to be able to play with the kids. So you don't want to be this big, muscular, bodybuilder who is out of breath, even though you look in great shape when you're going up the stairs. But simultaneously, you want to build muscle because, as Owen mentioned, you have the ability to eat more calories. It's also far healthier for you to have lean muscle mass. And something I spoke about recently, there is a direct correlation from cancer survivors to the amount of muscle mass that they have. So the more muscle mass you have, the better chance you have. I'm not saying that that's going to help you, beat cancer, but it's so important. And then obviously as we get older, our capacity to build muscle diminishes, just as Owen was saying. That doesn't mean that you still can't get stronger. You can, but it just means that our priorities need to change. And this goes for females as well. Once you hit that perimenopausal, menopausal stage, the risk of sarcopenia, muscle wastage, and then also osteoporosis, which is bone loss, is so high and so important. And your whole body has changed that you need to up your game. And it's important to know that if you keep repeating the same thing, you will always get what you always got. So yeah, that hybrid state of training, I think for a good 75% of the population, if I was to write off, is perfect. It's getting people stronger, it's getting them fitter, it's getting them leaner, and obviously we add in there some mobility stuff and we want them to move better. That again, they're the four pillars that we talk about at ECA. Get stronger, get fitter, get leaner, and move better. And if you can do that, even if you want to branch off into any other discipline, you maybe want to go and build more muscle, you maybe want to do more powerlifting style training, maybe you want to go and do more cardio or conditioning. Regardless, you are in a very good position. And you have a great foundation of those sort of things. So cool. And what would you say then for someone who is trying to build muscle, like in terms of their training, what should they be prioritizing? What sort of style of training should they be doing?
This is an answer to 16-year-old me and 22-year-old me still in the journey. But I think it's something that I'm obviously doing myself. So for me, what I prioritize inside the gym, you're going to be prioritizing, as we say, your strength, but also your hypertrophy work. So you want to be driving, not to get too technical, you want to be driving tension into that muscle. So what you want to be doing is you want to be training exercises that you're going to be able to train quite safely, but also train hard. So train them close to failure. But you're also going to want to do exercises that involve maybe a wee bit more stability under the bar, gaining strength as well. So inside the gym, your main thing would be training hard, training close to failure, hypertrophy and strength work. On the outside, then you're going to look at eating in a calorie surplus, and then that's just the opposite of eating in a calorie deficit. So whatever your maintenance calories is to maintain your weight, we want to add a wee bit on. So we probably want to add on, let's say, 200 to 300 calories per day, eating a wee bit extra food. What that's going to allow you to do is going to allow you to add on a bit of weight. And that combined with your strength training inside the gym is going to allow you to put on lean muscle mass. Within your diet as well, you're obviously going to want to prioritize high protein. So we usually recommend between 1.6 to 2 grams per pound, or sorry, per kilogram of body weight. And then that will allow you to use that protein to gain the muscle through your strength training inside the gym.
Good. And the reason why I bring that up is that's the model that we have again at ECA, where you start off potentially maybe with small groups and doing a hybrid form of training. And if you're new to exercise, it covers all bases. It's perfect. But like anything, you can become a little bit bored and you become a little bit stale, and you may want to focus on specific things. Like if it's more conditioning, then you may want to join our sweat classes or our high rocks, sample type classes to sort of compete in that sort of. Or you may want to focus on what is the second part of our three-phase system, which is the strength phase and the muscle building phase, where we want to get you looking good, legs, toned arms, legs, flatter stomachs, more muscle on your backs, arms, shoulders for guys. I'm really prioritizing that because, like we said, not only does it have a great physical benefit in terms of your health, but also it looks good, and it's prioritizing that as well. Okay.
100%. I think that's the great thing of what we offer in terms of we have our strength classes for people, but we also have our more conditioning focused classes as well, such as our sweat and our high rocks. So there's no reason why you can't do both.
100%. And I think if you want to be an all-rounder, like I realize this now, as Owen was subtly throwing digs at me there about I'm 36 years of age. When I started, I was highly involved with strength training and bodybuilding style training. And then the focus tends to wean a little bit from that. And now I just want to be able to run. I want to be strong. I want to be able to move. I want to be able to do a lot of the things that are again hybrid. I want to be able to go and say, hey, I can do a high rocks tomorrow, or yeah, I can lift a heavy ass weight, or yeah, I look, in semi decent shape. Where you go that, yeah, that dude looks like he works out. It's
Yeah.
I think that becomes more of a priority the older you get. I spoke about this with a friend before, and I think it comes with age. It's not to say like, there's a small minority that still want to go and get bigger and stronger, but I spoke about this before. The reason why I do what I do now with my training is because I love exercise and fitness that much that I realized about 5 years into my journey that I was never going to be big enough. I was never going to be lean enough. I was never going to be strong enough, and I was never going to be fit enough, because when I focused on one, the other one sort of fell by the wayside. Um, yes, you can get some carryover from some of the stuff, as you get leaner, sometimes your cardiovascular improves, you get later and so forth. But for the most part, if I'm focusing on my squat, my bench press is diminishing. If I focus on my bench press, then my squat and deadlift maybe. So it's understanding that concept in going, well, if I'm trying to do all these things, then I'm sort of becoming the master of none of them. But
Mhm.
when I decide, just as you said, turn the dial up and go, right, I'm really going to focus on this for the next period of time. And everyone in the gym will know this, because whenever I'm coming in training, they're like, when are you going on holiday? Because they know they start to see me more often. They start to see me do cardio. And that's me turning the dial up. That's me going, hey, I'm going away in 10, 12, 14, 16 weeks. It's time to start getting your ass in gear. So yeah, that turning the dial up is an important sort of issue with that. Like, okay. So one of the biggest challenges that people face maybe during, so actually, let's start from the start. What are the biggest challenges you think are stopping people from actually starting the gym, or getting a part of any sort of challenge, or, even setting foot or even just trying to get in shape? What are the things that sort of crop up constantly for you?
I would say the first one is probably a bit of fear. So a bit of fear that they can't do the gym or they'll not be able to, or I've actually heard a quote, I need to get fit before I join the gym. And I thought that was the stupidest thing I'd ever heard. Like you're going to the gym to improve yourself. You don't need to be that because they're probably worried about what everybody else is lifting, what everybody else is doing. So that's the first thing. You need to cut that out.
Have you heard
Everybody is in their own journey.
the
What we
education rebuttal to that, which is basically that's like somebody saying, I need to go to school to get smart before, or I need to get smart before I go to school.
before go, yeah.
Yeah. So it's the same. I need to get fit before I go to the gym.
So that's the first thing. Cut that out. Like, trust in yourself. You will be able to do. We have so many different variations. So, for example, we could be doing squat, but in that class, I may have people doing back squat. I may people have doing goblet squat. I may have people doing front squat, safety bar squat, box squat. There is a variation for each exercise that is going to suit you for where you're at your current time. So the fact that you think you won't be able to do anything, we need to cut that out. First thing is get over the fear and actually just make the start. Make the start into the gym. That would be the biggest challenge stopping people that I see of making that step to get into the gym. It's just that bit of fear. The second thing would probably be, as we were talking about before, prioritization, time management. So they may be worried that their schedule's too busy, but personally, I believe everybody can have 2 hours per week on average to get into the gym. It doesn't need to be 4 and 5 days a week. You can block out 2 hours to get to the gym. So for me, the time management issue is lies. You can make it.
Usually when you dig deeper on the time management, it's usually the fact of a couple of different things. One, they don't really want to change. And that's a vital thing to understand that you might say that you want something. You might have the financial needs to pay for a coach and get some support, but without that deep down internal drive, it's going to still be really hard to change. And so a lot of people think that they want to change and it's for the wrong reasons. And so that gravitational pull is not strong enough. And as you mentioned earlier, then their actions don't align with what they're actually saying and what their values are in terms of that. The other thing is, like, just as you mentioned, getting into the gym, fear. Gyms for most people are intimidating. I've been there. I still continue to be there. I go into some places if I'm in America or England, and if it's like you can sense a vibe straight away from every facility that you go into. So if you go into a commercial gym, you know that you're sort of on your own. And there's maybe lots of people around, and there's people who look like they know what they're doing. Um,
Yep.
but I guarantee they're thinking, oh, I hope that person not look at me because I haven't got a clue what I'm doing. Then there's vibes where there's, hardcore lifters and trainers, and if you're not part of this tribe or vibe, then what are you doing here? So I can see where people become switched off from it. And I
Mm-hmm.
say this to any of our clients that come through the door, like I appreciate you because it's not hard, or sorry, it's not easy to walk through those doors. So you've made the biggest step forward. And then what I want each and every one of us to do is smile, say hello, and make it a welcoming place because you don't realize how much that puts that person at ease. Because we get a lot of people who say, "Hey, I want to join the gym," and we tell them come down and meet us, and then they freak out last minute. They're like, "Oh, I couldn't walk in." So
I think
understanding that, go ahead.
I don't know about you, but when people walk into our gym or another gym similar, I think they're a bit shocked. I think it's not what they think it is because when you walk in our gym, there's no mirrors, there's no meatheads in the corner staring at themselves. Everybody's there having a bit of crack, doing their strength work. They're doing their mobility, they're doing their conditioning, they're getting on with it while enjoying the session. It's not what they think it is. That it's not as intimidating as they probably have in their head because I know commercial gyms can be like that. But I think whenever you walk into like a semi-private gym, group coaching gym, it's a lot different than what they have in their head.
100%. And all I ask people to do is to give it a chance. I think we all get pigeonholed. If someone has a bad experience in one of those gyms, a lot of times I call those disco gyms, where there's mirrors everywhere, everybody looks beautiful. there's the meatheads in the corners, hogging all the weights, and like I said, it's that dark. It looks more like a nightclub than it does a gym, and so everyone will then pigeonhole you. A gym is a gym is a gym,
Hmm.
whereas there's a place out there for everybody. I heard this analogy, and this comes down to football. Um, if you play for a club, say a club's academy, say you're in Manchester United's academy and you get released, some people would say, "Oh, you failed." And there was a pro I was listening to. It was like, "No, you haven't failed. You just need to find your level." And it's the same with the Goldilocks porridge, and it's the same with your gym. You just need to find the place that suits you and that is for you. Because when people tag us, you get this all the time. Who's a good coach? Where's a good gym to go to? And people start tagging. Years ago when we first started, like we would respond, "Hey, listen, check us out." Now we just don't respond because it's just a case of, the person who's recommending that probably goes to that gym and has had a great experience. And so there's no way I'm going to topple that by going, "Oh, hey, I know that gym sucks," or whatever it is. Like it's never going to work. So you just say, like, let people do their due diligence and sort of find it out for themselves. And I find, especially on calls, just listening to people is so massive. And I'll tell you a quick story. Do you remember Dima?
Yes.
So we had a client who had reached out to us and was interested in one of our challenges. Sat down, we had a conversation, 30 minutes long or whatever it was, and he said, "Listen, I haven't made a decision yet because I'm going to meet another gym tomorrow, and then I'll let you know." It's like, "Cool, no worries." Found out where the gym was, a friend of ours, so forth. And I knew that he charged less than what we charged, so I was like, he might just go for the cheaper option. Now, a couple of days later, I messaged him. He says, "Hey, I'm going to go with you guys. I know you're more expensive, but I just felt like you listened to me more. I just felt like you took the time to explain what it was, and I just in the other place, I just sort of felt like it was rushed, and it felt more like a number." So I think that's important that to remember. It's making connections, and we want you to have a good experience in the gym, and we are normal people just like everybody else. So um, yeah, I think that's a massive thing. The fear, anxiety, stress of that, um, and then obviously time management is something that people will always go on about. And as you said, rightly so, everyone has 2 hours in a week. Like we had an American coach come over to take a seminar, a training seminar, and I said to him while we were out for dinner, it's just like, "Okay, what do you do with your spare time?" Because we were trying to think of things to do with him, and he says, "Oh, my spare time, I've learned to play 4 instruments in the last year." I was like, "Oh, cool, right? Do you watch any television?" No. He's like, "The average person, on average, will spend 4 to 6 hours a day watching TV over the course of a year. That's 1,800 hours. I could get a master's degree in 1,200." And I just looked at him and I felt like, "Oh shit, I'm wasting my life."
And that's probably one end of the extreme.
Oh,
But it's a good point.
100%.
It's a good point that there is time. You just have to, again, it comes down to prioritization, but there is time for everybody. Maybe not to that extreme, but you have 2 hours to give to the gym, no doubt about it. I could find 2 hours for every single person.
Yeah. So talk to me as well about weight loss bias, right? And what I mean by that is people who have maybe done something extreme in the past and then they believe that that is the way to get results. Like, have you experienced that? Like, what's your thoughts?
I actually have. So funny enough, I have a current client at the minute. So he was sort of hovering in and around the same weight, trying to follow just a standard calorie deficit, just reducing his daily total intake, getting some activity outside the gym, and getting his gym sessions in. And it wasn't going as quick as we probably would have liked. So he came to me and he said, "Listen, I've done intermittent fasting before and it had worked for me. Can we go and do intermittent fasting?" And I said, "Absolutely." The reason why I said absolutely is because it had worked for him before, and he probably has that sort of connection, as you say, with it. Okay, if I do this, I'm going to get this result. And it could be the same for people doing keto, be the same for any other sort of diet. There's multiple different ways to put you in a calorie deficit. It's finding which one works for you and suits your daily life the best. So for some people, it might be just reducing the amount of calories in each meal. For somebody else, it might be keto. For somebody else, it may be intermittent fasting, which I sort of say is a fancy way of not eating breakfast. So
Yeah.
just we're pushing forward your first meal, or sorry, pushing back your first meal. So it's maybe at 12, and your last meal you maybe have at 6 p.m. or 8 p.m. So there's like a 16-hour window in the day where you're not eating. So if you're not eating in the 16 hours out of the 24 hours, it's going to be harder for you to overeat. And that's essentially what intermittent fasting is. So we put him on intermittent fasting, and to be fair to him, he actually has seen a bit more results in that time.
Good. Good. You'll have heard me talk about this. I call it the hang yourself effect. Um, and for me, the hang yourself effect is when I have this client who has this bias of what gets them results. So just as Owen says, you might have a client come to you and say, hey, intermittent fasting is the only thing that's worked for me. Um, Rather than you trying to, or us trying to change their mindset and go, on, no, this approach is better. You start off with what the client's comfortable with. So you start off, maybe we go into intermittent fasting. And for me, what the hang yourself effect means is one, you say, hey, listen, this is what I think you should do. But if you want to follow this, let's start there. And if they get results, it's a win-win because that's what they wanted. That's what they were there for. They're to get results, and you are the person that's helping them get that results. Now, if they don't get a result, then a lot of the times they're going to have that sort of tail between their legs and they're going to go, what do I do next? And then they're sort of forced to listen to you or take on board your opinion, which could be, hey, listen, that's worked really well for this period of time, but now it's time that we adapt and that we sort of change this, so that it evolves and it gets better. Because again, like we said, if you always do what you always did, you always get what you always got. So it's a case of understanding that there is stages and there is evolution. So when you're dealing with that bias, whatever you think works for you right now, I guarantee from the first time you tried it to whatever attempt it is that you're at now, it did not have the exact same effect as it did the first time. It will have diminished over time. So if that's doing some sort of nutritional protocol, or if that's running or whatever it may be, I guarantee that when you started, you got better results at the start than you do now.
And I think that that's a great point in the sense for coaches as well. So clients will always have their bias in what works for them, but coaches will always have their bias in what works for them too. And think a great thing, I actually can't remember who was talking to. You know what? It might have been Phil Brady. I think it was Phil Brady. He was saying to
Sure
me
wasn't me.
the way he's old PJ.
Yep.
So he was saying to me that instead of imposing onto the client and telling the client what they need to do, you need to let them come to the solution with you. They need to be part of the process. So you need to meet the client where they're at. For them in their head, it might be going to something that they favored before. And that's completely okay for you to meet them where they're at and bring them down that path. Because as you say, if it doesn't work, they'll come to you and go, okay, what's our correction course here? Where do we go next? So it's letting the client be part of the solution and not just telling them what they need to do, but letting them come to that come to that decision themselves with you.
Definitely. Definitely. Okay. So what are the biggest obstacles or issues then you see with people who are trying to build muscle? So obviously it's
That's a
different.
tough one. For me, I can say this in terms of myself. For me, it's just getting in enough food. So if I wasn't putting on weight and putting on muscle, 9 times out of 10, it's because I just wasn't eating enough. And structure is a massive thing for me in that. So if I have my first meal later than expected, then I need to get in more food later in the day, which can be a struggle if you're looking to eat a high amount of calories. So for me, structure my day and structure my meals is a big thing. So having my breakfast in the morning, having my lunch, having a snack, having my dinner. I know when I'm roughly having those meals and I know what I'm roughly having. It takes the guesswork out of it because I need to get in the amount of calories that I need to build muscle. So I think structuring your day, so planning out your day, I always say to the clients, plan out your day when you're working, when you're training, and also plan out your food. take the guesswork out of it, because I think a lot of us come to a certain time in the day and it could be lunchtime. You don't even know what you're having for lunch. And that's when the bad choices start to kick in, or maybe when people skip meals. So it's just planning that wee bit ahead. You don't even need to have it meal prep. Just know what you're having or have it bought in, and then you can make it on the spot rather than just having no idea.
Yeah, I would agree. Like people think it's the exercise, people think it's the amount of sets, the volume, and that does play its part on its toll. But if you're not eating enough to support your body, there's no way that you're going to be able to build muscle. But
Absolutely.
the unfortunate thing that comes with that is potential weight gain. And for some people, they wanna get bigger, but they don't want to, put on weight. It's the same way
Hmm.
as somebody who, wants to be shredded, but they don't want to eat less. It's like you need to understand that there's a process that needs to occur and that there is no absolutes for definite. And what I mean by that is the fact that we might be doing one approach or one thing or focusing on one thing for a set period of time, but it's not
Hmm.
infinite. It's not going to last forever. So if we're doing a diet or we're asking to eat more, um, it's because we believe that that's the best approach to get you that result. And we'll only be doing that for a short space of time. It's going to be easier for you to sort of do than you actually think. And I think Alex Hormozy talked about this here, and I thought it was interesting. He talked about his fraternity and saying that when they had pledges, people who wanted to join the fraternity, that a lot of them failed within the first 2 weeks. They give up, and they're just like, it's just too hard. Because obviously, what they have to do to pledge and all the different events and different things that they have to do, um, like they're just like, this is too hard. Where when he rephrased the question, it's like, did you know it was going to be hard? Yep. Well, you just didn't know how hard it was going to be, but you knew it was going to be hard. Like, so you're sort of semi-prepared. And that happened with us in the morns and the 7-7s. Like I was heart set on making sure everybody and all of us had done every mountain. So we knew what that looked like when we came to a summit or a felt summit. And we knew that like, hey, we're halfway there. Like the worst thing is on your mind. You can beat yourself mentally before you beat yourself physically, where you're like, I'm gonna give up here, like I'm gonna give up. When it's just over that edge is when you're at the top.
Hmm.
Um, Whereas when right, this part is hard, this part is tough. This is where I can get my breather. This is where I need to dial it up again. And it's understanding. And I say that to a lot of clients when they come to me, when they've lost weight in the past. And I'm like, listen, that's amazing. Like you have proven to yourself that you can do it. All we need to do is put the things in place for you to do it again. And you should garner confidence that you have lost weight. And then obviously when we look at our three-phase system, then we say to people, hey, you can lose weight, you have proven it. The biggest issue is weight regain, and we want to make sure that when you leave here that you don't have that issue.
Yeah, as talking before, like even the deposits and withdrawals, if you flip that and go, okay, every action I do, is that making a vote for the person that I want to become, or is it not? Is it making a vote for the old me, or the version of me that I don't want to be anymore? So by doing actions that are going to reinforce who you want to become and get you the result, is going to build confidence within yourself that you can actually do things as well, that you can actually get the results, you can climb that mountain, that you can run that 5K. By making actions that are going to build confidence within you is going to be massive in terms of believing in yourself.
Yeah. Well, let's finish with this. Based on what you were saying there about are those things get me closer to the person I want to be? In terms of weight loss, fat loss, body composition, whatever the shape is, what are the successful traits or the characteristics that those people have that make them so good or make them, have success? What would you say they are?
I would say first off, winning that sort of mental battle, like believing that you can do it. So you're going to go in, you're going to go, okay, I can, let's say it is, I'm going to lose 5 pounds. Okay, no matter what happens here, I am going to commit to this. I am going to make sure I'm consistent with my food. I'm going to make sure I'm consistent with my steps, because times will get tough. You will want to, okay, I can't be arsed doing that today. I can't be arsed going to the gym. But it's that mental pressure, perseverance, sorry, of no, I'm going to get up and I'm going to do it, instead of making an excuse for yourself, believing in yourself. voting for the person you want to become. So it's actually that first mental bit. It's trusting in yourself that you're going to do it. And when the tough times do come, that you push past them. I think that's the first thing to get a good result because yes, everybody knows, let's say you're talking to your coach, you have all these things that you know you need to do in the day. When the tough times hit, what's going to be your reaction? Are you going to be proactive? Are you going to push forward? Are you going to be reactive? Can't be arsed and then maybe regret it after.
Okay. Uh, if you had to choose one,
Hmm.
mental strength or physical strength, what would you choose? And why?
That is a hard one. If you were talking
No, no,
five
yeah, no, no, no,
thousand
yeah.
years
You have
ago,
to choose one.
if I was choosing one, I would go mental strength
Okay, why?
because I think you spend the most time. I seen something you spend the most time in the day with yourself. You spend 24 hours in the day with yourself. So if you have a good mental strength, good head on you, then I think your life is going to be so much easier. That would
Okay.
be my 2 cents on that. What would you choose?
I'm gonna say the opposite.
You're going to say physical.
Um,
What would be the reasons why?
I'll tell you now. So the reason why I asked this question was, Chris Williamson was asked it by Piers Morgan on a chat, and he thought he would have said mental strength, and he
Mm,
actually said something that really resonated with me because of what I have seen in my experiences, what my reality is, which is that physical strength can impact mental. So when you go and you've seen this before, somebody's maybe struggling with their mental health or they're not feeling in a great place and they go and they climb a mountain and they feel phenomenal and they feel like this sense of achievement. Or somebody changes their mental um capacity through human physiology by
hmm.
exercise because the endorphins that are released. And it was just such a different way to think about it. And I was like,
That is a very good way to think about it because we all know it. We all know how good you
yeah,
feel after a gym
a
session
workout.
or a walk or yeah.
Yeah. And it's just like, and I just went, do you know what? Because again, I would have been mental fortitude, like, but that still doesn't make it, you moving essentially.
Mhm.
And I think the reason why it probably hit home for me was some of the biggest struggles I see people have is they've got too much that they're thinking about and dealing with. Like, if you don't have structure in your day, you will be putting out fires constantly. You'll be like, oh, I need to go here, I need to do that, I need to do this. And this is where we were talking earlier about prioritization. It becomes difficult because if you're sitting there and you're just letting the day happen instead of carpe diem, seizing the day and saying, hey, this is what I need to achieve today. I need to drop the kids off to school. I need to get to work. Here's what I need to get done in work. Then I want to get home. Here's what's happening for dinner. If not, again, just like we were talking about, you're being reactive instead of being proactive. And proactive people are people who structure their day, prioritize things, things that they can't control that they will outsource and do. Now, again, when we look at friends, family, really close stuff, that is a priority. When it comes to exercise, you might have to succumb your workout that day because you had to run over and work. But that doesn't mean you're like, do you know what? Instead, I couldn't get to the gym today. I'm going to do a run or I'm going to go tomorrow instead. Like, you're then thinking about that and you're planning about it. And I think one of the biggest issues for people is it's just not in their head. Like top of mind awareness. If there's meant, sorry, many people I've heard talking about like leave your gym gear out where you can see it as a trigger to remind you, oh, yep, I gotta go to the gym today. I've got that sorted. So you're leaving things out, you're sort of prepping the next day, and it then becomes a part of your mind. Like that becomes a trigger to go, I need to do that. So
100%.
yeah, so you can decide whether it's
You know, that would
mental
that would change
or it's
that would change
physical.
my answer
Yeah.
because as you just said, the reason why is I know how good I feel whenever I get a gym session done, go for a walk, uh, go for a run, whatever it is that I know I want to get done on that day, and that makes sense for other things. Whenever I have a good meal and I know I'm on track with that, it makes me feel better mentally as well,
Yeah.
and it also falls into your exercise. But also, if I'm doing my to-do list, if I'm doing everything I said in the day, I'm also gonna feel mental clarity and I'm going to feel good about myself. And that's not even an exercise.
Well, do you know what? I was going to actually say ultimately, because it's a binary decision, you need both. But if you're sitting there and you're literally doing nothing, getting out for a walk and doing that can change that mental attitude. And what I'll say is start with physical, and then the mental barriers will start to fall. And then obviously that's probably what's going to drag you through. So if I was to relate this to motivation and inspiration, the physical stuff is the inspirational stuff, and the motivation, the thing that keeps you going, and the discipline is probably the mental side of it. So yes, they could be both. It is a bit of a trick question, but it really just got me thinking when we were talking about that, because I know, and I've said this to people on many occasions, I have deliberately put myself through some hard workouts because mentally I've got a lot going on and I just want to forget about that. And when I know my head is focused on the next rep and trying to get through the next set or doing this next thing, I'm not thinking about what's going on at home. I'm not thinking about anything else. I'm thinking about I need to get through this. And for me, may not be for everybody else, but for me, that's a mental release of stress, of like anxiety, of worrying, because I'm just focusing on this is my time, this is me against me, this is putting in the reps. So
And I think it doesn't even have to be in the gym. Like you've probably heard the saying, when you're on the football pitch, all your worries go away. So when you're on a football pitch in a match, you're not thinking about anything, bar the man you're marking and what's happening in the game. You're not thinking about anything like that. It could be the same for if you're going out for a run, you're focused on your run. It could be any sort of exercise. You do get that mental release from being involved in that physical activity.
100% agree. Anything else you want to ask or add before we go?
Um, in your time, so I'll ask you one question.
Go ahead.
In your time as a gym owner and a coach, what is the best trait that you see in people that has allowed them to get amazing results and keep them?
Ooh, that's tough. It's very similar to what I'd said on a podcast with Lenny about gym owners themselves, and dealing with imposter syndrome. I think it's courage of conviction. And what I mean by that is actually having the cojones to follow through on something, even if people are not supportive, or even if people are not, um, you know, in the same boat as you. Because in terms of get results, everyone has the capacity, but and we have it at ECA, like we're not shy about that. There's certain people who get amazing results, even though everyone is typically almost doing the same thing, and it's what sets them apart. And for me, it's attitude, it's courage of conviction, it's following through. And this is something I was talking to maybe you guys about, and a few clients. Like the people who are the most successful are the ones who take on board information and they implement. So,
Mhm.
speaking, like I had a client ring me this morning who, well, a former client, one of our former long-term clients, and asking my advice on something. Um, and he was just like, mate, you're the only one I'll go to actually ask for advice, because it's a case of I know what you say is correct, and then I just go away and do it. So for that, I would say, yeah, courage and conviction, actually sticking to your guns and weathering the storm. And every person who tries to get in shape will overcome some sort of obstacle, whether it's they hit a plateau, they lose focus, shit's going on at home or in work, and they're finding it difficult, but they're still chipping away. And the
Yep.
best way I could do this, I think it was on your slide. Rome wasn't built in a day, but they did build every day.
Yeah.
Um,
Great quote. I
so
love that bit in the end because it's so true. Everybody's obviously heard the saying, Rome wasn't built in a day, but they did do something. They did put one brick in place every single day.
yeah. And that goes for people out there who are high achievers and people who do a lot of things. Be wary. The more you do, the more you think you can do. And they're the type of people who struggle to let go of things and then become really overwhelmed. And then things can sort of, take their focus. So, be kind to yourself, Appreciate that this is a process, just like building muscle is a process, just like finding a new job or building a business or, developing your relationship with, a spouse. It's a process. Nothing happens overnight. And the only issue and the genuine struggle that I find for people is it takes time for the human body to change. And that's just the thing that sucks, especially with the amount of effort that you put in.
Yeah, it's be patient as well. Trust the process and be patient. You've heard it all before, but it is so true.
Again, Hormozy said a great thing. If you wanted to teach someone patience, what would you do? You would withhold something from them. And this goes for one of our coaches, Andrew Lawler. Andrew, for a long time, I used to wind up about getting his blue belt in jiu-jitsu. And he finally got it. And he was like, I told you. I says, mate, I'm only weighing you up just for the sake of it, but I'm proud of you. But also, don't let other people influence you, because the amount of times people are like, I can't believe you're definitely getting the blue. Don't listen to anybody else. You focus on yourself. And Lenny, he owns the gym. I had this conversation with him today. I said, congratulations on your purple belt. Like, did you know it was coming? He was like, no. He said, I had no idea. And that's probably the best way to be. It's just sort of like, I'm doing my thing. I'm focusing on what I need to do. I'm chipping away at this. And then before you know it, how do you move a mountain? One stone at a time. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. And before you know it, you've moved that mountain, you've ate that elephant, and you've got your purple belt. Well, not Andrew
Mhm.
hasn't, but just
It's sort of when you chase the result, but you don't focus on the process. Focus on the process, enjoy that, and the result will always come.
yeah, 100%. Thank you very much, mate. Appreciate it.
No worries.
Um,
Great chatting to you,
yes, as always.
as
Uh,
always.